Ladies and gentlemen, there's one question I asked myself 5 years ago that completely changed the trajectory of my entire life. And I'm gonna share it with you in this video here today. But before I do, I need you to promise me something. When I ask you this question, I want you to actually think about it. Don't just nod your head and keep scrolling. Actually pause the video and think for a second. Because this question, it's the reason I went from a broke college student to building a 7-figure business by 22 years old. And it'll work for you too if you let it. Let me paint the picture. March 2020, I'm sitting in my dorm room at Michigan State pursuing a pre-med major that I absolutely hated. The world just shut down, COVID hit, everything went online, and honestly, I was just lost. I was scrolling through social media, watching the news, seeing all these businesses closing, people losing their jobs, the economy crashing, and all my friends, they were treating it like an extended vacation, playing video games until 3 a.m., binge watching Netflix, complaining about being stuck at home. But something felt wrong about that to me, like really wrong. I remember sitting there thinking, this is probably the most historic moment of our generation. This is our World War II, our Great Depression, our moon landing. This is the moment that's gonna redefine everything that comes after. That's when I asked myself the question that changed everything. And here's that question. When your grandkids ask you what you did during this time in your life, what are you going to tell them? That's it, simple question. But let me tell you why it's so powerful. See, most people live their lives day to day, week to week, maybe month to month. They're so caught up in what's happening right now that they never step back and look at the bigger picture. But when you really sit down and ask yourself what you're gonna tell your grandkids about this moment, everything changes. Because now you're not just living for today, you're living for legacy. You're living for the story you're gonna tell decades from now. And let me be real with you, most of you watching don't have a story worth telling right now. I want you to think about your life right now. Like really sit down and think about it. If your grandkids asked you what you did in your 20s, what would you tell them? Well, kids, I spent 4 years getting a degree I didn't really care about, then I got a job I hated, I worked 40 years and retired broke. Oh, and I spent about 6 hours a day on TikTok and scrolling reels. And I know I sound sarcastic, but that's most people's story today. And I'm not judging, I was headed down that same exact path. But here's what I realized when I asked myself that question during COVID. I realized that every single day, I'm either building the story I want to tell, or I'm building the story I'm gonna regret. There's no neutral, there's no middle ground. And there's no, I'm just living my life. Every choice you make, every hour you spend, every person you surround yourself with, it's all going into that story. So the question becomes, what story do you want to tell? Do you want to tell them that when the world was changing, when opportunities were everywhere, when you had the chance to build something special, you chose comfort, you chose safety, you chose to blend in with everyone else? Or do you want to tell them that when everyone is making excuses, you were making moves? You see, when I asked myself this question during COVID, I knew exactly what I wanted to tell my grandchildren. I wanted to tell them that when the entire world shut down, when everyone else was complaining and playing video games, their grandfather saw an opportunity. I wanted to tell them that I helped businesses survive by moving them online. That I built something from nothing while everyone else was waiting for things to go back to normal. But more than that, I want to tell them that I didn't let other people's opinions stop me. Because let me be honest, when I started my first agency, nobody believed in me. My family thought I was wasting my time. My friends were telling me I didn't know what I was doing. I remember showing my logo designs to someone close to me and they asked if it was for a school project. When I told them I was starting a business, they looked at me like I was insane. But you know what kept me going? That question I mentioned earlier. Because I knew that one day I wanted to look my grandkids in the eye and tell them that when everyone doubted me, I believed in myself anyways. And the beautiful thing is, now I can. I've built multiple million-dollar companies by 25. I've helped over 1,000 clients grow their businesses. I've got over 57,000 members in my Founders Club group who are building their own success stories today. But here's the thing, it's not the end of the story. That's just chapter 1. You see, this question isn't just about business or money. It's about something deeper. It's about who you become in the process of building that story. Because here's what I learned. Your grandkids aren't gonna care about the money in your bank account. They're gonna care about your character. They're gonna care about whether you stood for something or just went along with the crowd. They're gonna care about whether you took risks or played it safe. Whether you helped people or just looked out for yourself. Whether you grew or stayed the exact same. And right now, in 2025, we're living in another historic moment. AI is changing everything. The economy is uncertain. Social media is rewiring how we think. The job market is completely different than it was just 5 years ago. Your grandkids are gonna ask you what you did during this time. They're gonna ask you how you adapted, how you grew. How did you contribute to society? And here's the uncomfortable truth. Scrolling through Instagram for 5 hours a day is not gonna make a very compelling story. And neither is complaining about how hard everything in your life is. Neither is waiting for someone else to give you permission to start living the life you actually want and know you deserve. You know what will make a compelling story? Taking action when everyone else is paralyzed by uncertainty. Learning new skills, when everyone else is making excuses, building relationships when everyone else is isolating behind screens. So here's what I want you to do tonight. I want you to literally ask yourself this question. What am I gonna tell my grandchildren about this time in my life today? And I want you to be honest, brutally honest. Don't give me the sanitized version, give me the real, genuine answer. If you're spending more time on social media than you are building your own skills, own that. If you're letting other people's opinions control your decisions, own that. If you're choosing comfort over growth, own that. Because you can't change what you won't acknowledge. But once you acknowledge it, everything becomes possible. Because now you have a choice. You can keep living the story you're currently living, or you can start writing a new one. And let me tell you something, it's never too late to write a new story. I don't care if you're 16 or 60. I don't care what mistakes you've made. I don't care what people have told you about your potential. Your story isn't over until you stop writing it. But you have to start writing it intentionally. You have to start making choices based on the story you want to tell, not the story that's easiest to live. Now here's how to use this question practically. Every time you have to make a decision, and I mean every single decision, ask yourself, does this choice move me towards the story I want to tell my grandkids or away from it? Should you go out and party tonight? Or should you work on that business idea? What would make for a better story? Should you stay in that job you hate because it's safe? Or should you take a risk on something you're passionate about? What would make for a better story? Should you surround yourself with people who drag you down? Or should you find people who push you to be better? What would make for a better story? The answer becomes obvious when you frame it that way. Because deep down, you already know what story you want to tell. You just need the courage to start living it. Your grandkids are gonna ask you about this time in your life. They're gonna ask you what you did when the world was changing, when opportunities were everywhere, when you had the chance to build something meaningful. What are you gonna tell them? That you watched other people do it, or that you were one of the people doing it? That you waited for the perfect moment, or that you realized the perfect moment is right now? That you let fear make your decisions, or that you chose courage over comfort? The choice is yours. But choose quickly, because while you're deciding, someone else is already writing their story. And trust me, you don't want to be the person watching from the sidelines wondering what if. You want to be the person your grandkids look up to. The person who took action when it actually mattered. The person who built something worth remembering. So tonight, before you go to sleep, ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself that question. And tomorrow morning, start living that answer. Now, if this hit, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real talk about building a life worth living. And let me know in the comments what story you're gonna tell your grandkids about this time in your life. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.